I've never heard of anyone who started a homestead and lives there full-time for less money than I did. I'm John from Frugal Off-Grid, and we're going to talk about the best ways to start a homestead with nearly no money. So this is the third most searched term by my subscribers on YouTube. So how to start a homestead with no money. You know, search terms get optimized and whatnot, and I don't think most people mean to start with zero money, but I'm going to give you a few ideas of how to get started with the most limited amount of money possible, and you could extrapolate it from there. There's nothing cheaper than tent camping, and there are a lot of parks that will give you a permit or a pass so you can get in, and there are certain days you can camp, certain days you can't. A lot of them will just kind of allow you, they'll say like you can be here for 2 weeks or 14 days or 10 days. Then you got to leave for a day, and then you can come back and pick another spot or whatever. So if you had some sort of income, social media even, guys, you could just start a YouTube account and get a following enough that, you know, even if you could only come up with, you know, $300 to $500 a month without all of the expenses of living in the city, it's very possible you could do something like that. I'm not recommending this exactly, but if someone was in a position where they just needed the cheapest way to kind of start to go off grid, and what this would help you do is, well, if you don't have rent anymore or mortgage or other bills, utilities, you could live in your tent, given you have this pass and a small source of income, and save money until you can get or finance a cheap piece of land, and probably before that a vehicle, and you could start living in your vehicle for a while. A lot of people live in cars, even like Prius, and they don't have any problems, and some find it real enjoyable. I've lived in my van for several years, and I love it. I'm completely comfortable in there. So the next step would be, if you have a vehicle, you can camp in your vehicle. There are a lot of parks that will allow you the same kind of pass, and you can park your vehicle for 10 days, 14 days, leave, come back, and if you want, you can travel. You could go to different parks and park and work from your vehicle remotely, or social media, or, you know, even if you're on Social Security or whatnot, if you have some sort of income, you could probably go to a lot of these places and then drive to the nearest city and do Uber for the day. You know, there are a lot of options. You just have to think outside the box. So those two options are kind of off, you know, on a tangent almost, because ultimately, how do you start a homestead or go off grid, really? Like, I think this is what most people are thinking, is at least to have kind of a homestead. So how do you go off grid with no money? That's hard, you know. If you really had to do it with no money, you could probably find somebody that already has a homestead and say, hey, can I work for you for room and board? You know, and so you could get onto a property and you could do room and board, and then make plans from there. Save up and start your own after that. There are a lot of people that would like help like that, so you could reach out to people and ask. You could make a post on Craigslist, you know, put out a good resume or a good proposal, you know, go on Craigslist and just say, hey, this is why you want me around. I could be a ranch hand, you know. So that's a way. There is a way to get out there for free. Now from there, you would probably be moving up closer to what I did, which I had a good career. The point was, I was going to save a lot of money. My plan was to save hundreds of thousands of dollars and then go off grid, and that would be the best way. If you could at least save several $1,000s, or at least buy your land and pay it off first, those are really great ways, I think, to get going. Personally, I worked at this company for a couple years, worked my way up from the bottom, started making pretty good money. I bought my camper van, and I I kind of decked it out with wheels, tires, suspension, built it out inside, kind of those kind of things, thinking I didn't know I was going to get laid off. So I was saving money, but then I got laid off and I had $6,000. After buying my piece of property, I had about $6,000 saved, and that was it. And I didn't have a job. I got laid off. I got the land and I moved out there with $6,000 roughly, and that's it. So once I bought the land, I started social media and, started to kind of document what I was going to do and kind of put it out there. I got onto the land. It was bare land. I did all the research, looked up the county code, read all through the county. What can you do? What can't you do? You got to do all your research. That's paramount. But that's a different video. So I come out here with almost nothing, and then you need food, water, and shelter. By coming out with the van, I already had shelter. I brought out 2 containers, just like the one that's attached to the trailer right now. I still haul water. I can technically harvest 20,000 gallons and store it, but now that I've built that system, I haven't received that monsoon yet to fill it. So I'll probably haul water till I have 40,000 gallons of storage, because I just don't see why not. I'm going to town anyway. I grab water, and I came out with a year's supply of food, like canned food, and not the best, but it was a cheap way to have food for sure. And from there, the plan was to build the social media, start a website, get people going to the website to buy products and whatnot to help support me living off grid. And from there, what's important is to build yourself multiple sources of income. If you have one source of income and there's a hiccup or something, you could be in trouble. But if you got, a little bit of money, imagine you got $35 coming in a day from an old ebook you wrote or something, and it might not sound like a lot, but that adds up throughout the month. And if there's something that needs covered, you got that. And then, oh, surprise, there was another few $100 from this, and you can make courses, you can sell a product that you've created yourself, you can do ebooks, you can make social media and make a little bit of money from that. You could do local work if you wanted to. You could drive to the city, get a job if that works for you. You could do more local work though, like maybe you're a good welder, you could make gates for all of the people around your community. Go give a couple people a free gate and put your website on it or something. And there's always a way to generate some money. And what I found is if you come out without a bunch of bills and expenses, I think most people could live, a single person, on like $500 a month. I know it's crazy, but if you're not blowing your money on Netflix and stuff, you can get by. Something you have to consider before going out though is most places will require a septic system, at least. And so I've known a lot of people to just be like, oh, I quit then, Well, just budget that into the price of things. So if you find yourself a $10,000 piece of land, add the $6,000 it's going to cost, and now you figure out how you're going to pay off that $16,000. I know that that's a bump up, but that's where you're looking as you go. You do need to have some money, and so find out what the rules are in your county. Do your best to abide by those rules, but then wherever you're going to live, account for what needs to be done and budget for that as well. Some land you can camp on the land technically, like they'll let you full-time camp on it, and maybe they'll have a rule where you have to, once every month, you got to leave and come back, just like when you're camping in the parks or whatever. So come camping, take a trip to the nearest city for a day or two, come back. You could do something like that to be able to follow those rules. Some places allow you to live in an RV. Some places allow you to build your own house and then just, sign something saying, hey, if this fails, it's my fault. There are a lot of different options, but you can definitely get going with a pretty minimal amount. I know some people have said that the $6,000 I came out here with was a ton of money, but I don't think it really was. Like, I was like 35 years old, and that's I think any 15-year-old kid could save up that money if he worked really hard. It just is a lot of dedication and going without. Oh, and then of course there's the whole other lot of people that are like, dude, you're poor and that's nothing. And that's kind of the point, is this is frugal off grid. So how can you do this in a way that fits your budget as best as possible? But once you're out there, you're living off grid, you know, there are other ways to create income for yourself. I raise most of my meat and I don't buy vegetables. I get them from the garden. That offsets my costs largely, and that's wealth, because there's 400 pounds of meat just sitting right here that isn't going to go bad, you know, and then there's more in the freezer, and that cycle will continue. That's a large amount of wealth. I've never had so much meat in my life, and that's security. And I dug a root cellar and filled it with food storage. I've never had that much security, growing my own vegetables and fruit, and I make pie and all kinds of really great things that you just get closer to earth on your homestead. And at the end of the day, isn't happiness a huge part of it too? You know, if you're doing something you want to do, it's just a lot more enjoyable. I've got a free ebook for you if you want to learn more about from the very beginning until a couple years ago. So the first book I wrote that I'm giving you for free, it covers the first couple years I was out here. There's a link below. Go get it for free. And right now I'm about 18 chapters into my newest book. It's going to be 24 chapters that covers everything all the way through what I've learned training my horses. That's going to be available on my 4-year anniversary, which will be about May 18th. And it's going to be the first job. Like, I'm not a writer. The first book wasn't edited great, but most people don't care. It was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. I've moved everything to my website since, because they take half of it over there. So, but this will be, I'm going to hire some people to edit this, and I'll put my best effort into it, what I can afford. And subscribe if you want to learn more as well, and I'll catch you on the next video.